This is one of the most dangerous and subtle red flags in a toxic narcissistic relationship. Because at first it doesn't look like control. It looks like love, like attention, like devotion. You think, wow, they just want to spend so much time with me. And in the beginning, it feels good. They text all the time. They want to be with you constantly. They act jealous, but call it cute or say it's because they care so much. What you don't realize is it's not about love. It's about control. And it starts with slowly cutting off your access to the people who could help you see things clearly. They'll start planting little seeds. Your friends don't really get us. Your mom's always trying to get in your head. That one friend, she's jealous of what we have. And before you know it, you're pulling back from the people who love you. You cancel plans. You stop reaching out. You make excuses for their behavior. And you start believing the story they're feeding you, that no one understands the connection you two have, that everyone else is against it. It becomes you and them against the world. But what's actually happening is they're building a cage. Because when you lose your support system, you lose perspective. You lose your reality check. And that's exactly what they want. Because as long as you're isolated, you're easier to manipulate. You're easier to gaslight. You're easier to control. Think about it. When was the last time you had a real, unfiltered conversation with a friend or family member you used to trust? When was the last time you felt free to share what's really going on in your relationship? That silence didn't happen by accident. It was built step by step by a partner who knew exactly how to pull you away from your power. And once you're alone, it's so much harder to leave. Because now the person hurting you is the only one you've got to lean on. That's by design. And here's the cruel irony. Once they've cut you off from everyone else, they stop showing up too. You end up emotionally stranded. No partner who supports you, and no friends or family to fall back on because you were convinced to push them away. This is how narcissists gain complete control. They don't just take your time or your energy. They take your lifelines. They sever the bonds that remind you who you were before the relationship. Because if you can't remember that version of you, the strong, independent, connected version, you're less likely to believe you can ever get back there. Sometimes they isolate you with drama. They create chaos with your loved ones to make you feel like choosing them means keeping the peace. Sometimes they do it with shame. They make you feel like no one else would ever understand or accept the things you've done wrong. And other times they do it with guilt. You always choose them over me. Why can't I be enough for you? And so you shrink your world, you make them your everything. And that's exactly where they want you, cut off, uncertain, and dependent. This is not what love looks like. Real love encourages you to keep your people close. Real love doesn't compete with your family, your friends, or your inner circle. It joins them. Anyone who tries to disconnect you from the people who care about you is doing it for one reason, to make sure they're the only voice in your head. And when that voice is toxic, it becomes a prison. This is one of the most emotionally exhausting patterns you'll ever experience. You feel like you're starving for connection, for affection, for anything real. And just when you're about to give up, they throw you a crumb, a text, a compliment, a small gesture that feels like the person you know they can be. It gives you hope. You think, okay, maybe things are getting better. But before you can even breathe that in, they're gone again. Cold, distant, disengaged, back to blaming, gaslighting, or simply withdrawing. That's the cycle. And it's intentional. Breadcrumbing is about control. It's about power. Narcissists do this because they know that if they gave you nothing, you'd eventually leave. But if they give you just enough, you'll stay. You'll keep holding on, thinking the real version of them is still in there somewhere, when in reality, that good version is just part of the manipulation. It's not sustainable. It's bait. It's emotional survival mode, where you're constantly chasing, constantly performing, constantly hoping that if you say or do the right thing, they'll give you more. And when they do show up, it's often after a fight, after a long stretch of ignoring you, or right when they sense you're pulling away. That's no accident. They're watching. They know when you're fed up, and just when you're at your breaking point, they swoop in with a grand gesture, a sweet moment, something that reminds you of why you fell for them in the first place. It creates confusion. It keeps you hooked, and it makes you feel like you are the unstable one for feeling up and down all the time. You're not unstable. You're not overreacting. You're being manipulated by inconsistency. That's what keeps you anxious and on edge. That's why your nervous system is fried. You never know what version of them you're going to get. Will it be the charming one who says all the right things? Or the cold, dismissive one who acts like you don't matter? That's how breadcrumbing works. It trains you to crave the tiniest bits of affection like they're proof of love, but they're not. They're distractions from the pain. Real love is consistent. Real love doesn't make you beg for attention. It doesn't disappear for days and then come back, expecting everything to be fine. A partner who truly cares about you shows up, even when things are hard. They don't punish you with silence or push and pull you like a game. They're emotionally available, not just when it's convenient, but because they value you and the connection you share. If you constantly feel like you're chasing someone, it's not a relationship, it's a chase. And when you live on breadcrumbs long enough, you forget that you deserve the whole meal. The longer you stay in that cycle, the more exhausted, disconnected, and confused you become. That's the point for them. But it doesn't have to be your reality. Love is supposed to fill you. Yes, relationships take work. But at the end of the day, being with someone should give you a sense of safety, peace, and connection. But when you're in a toxic narcissistic relationship, it's the opposite. You don't feel recharged after spending time with them. You feel exhausted. You're constantly drained, mentally, emotionally, even physically. And the worst part? You start thinking it's just you, that you're the problem, that maybe you're just too sensitive, too dramatic, too needy. But no, what's really happening is you're pouring every drop of your energy into keeping the relationship alive, and they're not pouring anything back. You're walking on eggshells, managing their moods, absorbing their criticism, and constantly trying to prove your worth. That's not love. That's emotional labor. And when love turns into labor, where you're working overtime just to maintain peace, you end up depleted, you wake up feeling anxious, you go to sleep second-guessing everything you said, and during the day, you carry this constant low-level dread that you can't even explain to anyone. That's what being emotionally drained feels like. It's not just sadness. It's a slow leak of your confidence, your identity, and your joy. You're not just tired from life. You're tired from the constant emotional tightrope they've got you walking. And here's the kicker. When you try to express that, when you say you're exhausted, overwhelmed, or not okay, they flip it. Suddenly, you're ungrateful. I'm doing everything I can. You're always unhappy. Nothing I do is ever good enough for you. Instead of support, you get blamed. And now, you're not just drained, you feel guilty for being drained. That's how deep the manipulation goes. And healthy love doesn't feel like that. A healthy partner doesn't drain you, they restore you. They listen. They care about how you feel. They make space for your bad days, not just your good ones. You should be able to come home to someone and breathe, not brace for impact. But when you're with a narcissist, home becomes the battlefield. And instead of feeling safe, you're always on alert. That tension, that constant emotional fatigue, that's not normal. And it's not something you have to get used to. When every conversation feels like a trap, every disagreement feels like a war, and every moment together feels heavier instead of lighter, that's your nervous system telling you the truth your heart is trying to ignore. Love shouldn't deplete you. Love shouldn't leave you questioning your worth. If you feel more lonely in the relationship than you did before it started, that's not love, that's a warning. You weren't meant to shrink yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. You weren't put on this earth to carry someone else's emotional baggage while they refuse to carry their own. If you're constantly drained, it's not because you're too much. It's because they're giving you far too little. Hey, I need you to listen closely, because this could change everything. If you're constantly second-guessing yourself, walking on eggshells, or wondering, is it me or is something really wrong here? This is for you. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I'm here to wake you up, because the truth is, a toxic narcissistic relationship doesn't always look obvious. It can be charming. It can feel exciting. It can even feel like love until it starts to feel like you're losing yourself. So today I'm giving you 5 signs, 5 flashing red lights that you might be stuck in something that's not just unhealthy, it's dangerous to your self-worth. And once you see the signs, you can't ignore them, and you won't settle for them. Let's go. When someone truly loves you, they lift you up, they support you. They want what's best for you, even when it challenges them. But a narcissist flips that on its head. Instead of using love to build a connection, they use guilt to control you. It's subtle at first. You might hear things like, "After everything I've done for you," or "Wow, I guess I just don't matter to you anymore." And it hits you in the gut. Not because you did something wrong, but because they know exactly how to make you feel like you did. That's the trap. They use your empathy against you. You care, you reflect, you want to fix things, and they know it. So they twist every conversation, every conflict, every moment that should be about mutual growth and turn it into a way to make you feel like you owe them something, that you're the bad one, that if you really loved them, you'd do more. Stay quiet, let it go. Over time, you start making decisions not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of disappointing them, upsetting them, setting them off. That's not love. That's manipulation. It's a relationship built on emotional pressure, not emotional safety. And the worst part, they'll convince you that you're the problem for even questioning it, that you're too sensitive, too needy, too dramatic. So you stay quiet. You tolerate more. You stop asking for what you need, and they get exactly what they want. Control. But here's the truth. If someone uses guilt to get their way, they're not loving you. They're managing you. And love isn't about being managed. It's about being seen, heard, and valued without strings attached. You bring something up that's bothering you. Maybe it's small, maybe it's big. Either way, it's real to you. But the moment the words leave your mouth, they hit a wall. The person shrugs it off, laughs, rolls their eyes, or worse, they twist it and make you feel guilty just for feeling the way you do. Suddenly, the problem isn't the thing that upset you, it's the fact that you're upset at all. That's what it's like when you're with a narcissist. They don't hear your feelings. They dismiss them, mock them, or use them as ammunition. At first, it can feel confusing. You might think, wait, maybe I am overreacting. Because they're calm, they're cold, and they're making it sound like you're the dramatic one. You could be crying your heart out, trying to explain why something hurt. And they're sitting there saying things like, "You're too emotional. You're being crazy." Or the classic, "That's not what happened." They rewrite reality, and the more it happens, the more you start doubting yourself. That's not an accident. That's the goal. A narcissist needs control, and one of the easiest ways to control someone is to make them question their own emotions. Because when you no longer trust your feelings, you stop expressing them. You silence yourself. You learn to keep things inside, to keep the peace. You train yourself to tolerate what hurts you just to avoid the next emotional shutdown. That is not normal. That is not healthy. That is emotional invalidation, and it erodes your confidence like slow poison. You start to feel like a shell of yourself, someone who used to speak up, laugh louder, feel deeply, but now you second guess everything. Am I the problem? Maybe I just need to toughen up. No, you're not too much. You're not crazy. You're human, and your feelings are valid. But when someone refuses to make space for your emotions, it's not a flaw in you, it's a tactic in them. Because if they can get you to stop expressing yourself, they don't have to be accountable for how they treat you. Think about it. Someone who cares about you doesn't shut you down when you are hurt. They lean in. They try to understand. They make an effort to change. A narcissist doesn't do any of that. They make you feel like your pain is a burden, like your needs are annoying, like their comfort is more important than your truth. And eventually, you stop even trying to be understood. That's the most dangerous part, because when you lose your voice in a relationship, you lose yourself. You deserve to be in a relationship where your feelings aren't minimized, mocked, or made into a weapon. You deserve to be heard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's messy. Because love doesn't silence. It listens. It starts out small. You bring something up. Maybe they forgot something important. Maybe they crossed a boundary. And instead of owning it, they turn it around. Suddenly you're defending your tone or your timing or the way you said it. What just happened? You went from trying to talk about their behavior to defending your reaction. That's what it looks like when someone flips the script. Narcissists are masters at this because if they can make everything your fault, they never have to take responsibility for anything. You say, hey, it hurt me when you ignored my call. They reply, well, maybe if you weren't so clingy, I'd want to talk to you more. You say, I felt disrespected by that comment. They say, you're just too sensitive. I was joking. Every time you raise an issue, they find a way to twist it so that you're the one who's wrong. Too emotional, too dramatic, or too much. It's like arguing in a funhouse mirror. Nothing is clear and everything gets distorted until you walk away feeling confused and ashamed. Over time, you stop trusting your instincts. You start questioning your own judgment because no matter how gently or respectfully you bring something up, they find a way to punish you for it through blame, through sarcasm, or by shutting you out altogether. So you stop bringing things up. You let things slide. And you do it not because it doesn't matter, but because you're tired of always being made out to be the villain. That's not a healthy relationship. That's gaslighting. And when someone constantly flips the script on you, they're not just avoiding accountability. They're training you to take on their mess. They're conditioning you to absorb the blame so they can avoid the work. It's toxic. It's manipulative. And worst of all, it chips away at your self-worth. The goal isn't to resolve conflict, it's to silence it. And in doing that, they silence you. You end up walking on eggshells, trying to anticipate their reactions, trying to stay calm enough, easy enough, perfect enough to not get blamed. But no matter how careful you are, they always find a way to make it about you. That's the trap, because if you're always the problem, you'll always feel like you need to fix yourself, and while you're busy doing that, they get to stay exactly the same.